Hello, esteemed Pokemon battlers of the UPBA Draft League. This is the Fat Panda, and welcome on into your very first power rankings for the Season 6 draft. I know we're a little bit into week 1 now, but I figured I may as well get out a list going over the teams from the draft this year so far, and going over some strengths and weaknesses of every team. What are my thoughts on them, so on and so forth. This is going to be more in-depth, I imagine, than probably any other power ranking I'm going to do this season, because there's just so much to cover as opposed to updates from week to week or however often I decide to do them. For those of you who have never been subjected to one of my power rankings before, don't react if you think I'm being too harsh, or do. I guess I don't really care, but I tend to just stream of consciousness it, and I have very strong opinions about some things. So if your team is ranked 16 or 13 or whatever, the person you hate most's team is ranked number 1, well, don't worry, I'm wrong a lot, so you don't have to worry about it too much. With all that being said, we may as well hop right on into it. We're going to start at the bottom. What team I think is currently the worst. Keep in mind, I'm only ranking right now based on draft. I know almost nothing about most of the battlers and coaches in this league. I only know 2 or 3 of them at all. So I'm not taking into account any particular skills. If I say your team is not that great, but you're a really good coach, you'll probably be able to drag it a lot further than your initial ranking. And of course, over the season, these rankings are going to change. That's the whole dang point. And with that, we'll go right into the team I currently, sadly, have ranked at number 16. Which is going to be the Union Point Urshifus. Now, we're on the first page here. I'm thinking everything should be pretty obvious at a glance, but we have all 11 draft picks. They're ordered by tier, not by the draft pick order or anything. And we've got our basic team stats, type coverages, speed tiers, and what kind of move pools we're looking at for the team overall. With the support moves and honestly, if there's something that's wrong there, it's possible it's going to happen a few times over this. There's a lot of Pokemon, and knowing everything about all of them, yeah, that's not going to happen. Even as good as I am with knowledge, I don't know everything. Going over the support moves first, you can see that it's fairly obvious. We've got the various hazards listed, as well as some of the basics for team composition, which is hazard control. Volt Turn is always appreciated for momentum, and cleric support. In Draft League, I think balance is kind of the starting point for a draft team, and then you lean, one way or the other outside of that. And a good cleric. So cleric support, if I see something like Healing Wish, Aromatherapy or Heal Bell, those kind of moves, if they seem relatively prevalent in your team, that's good. Even just like one user, that's fine. Now, the Union Point Urshifus are a team of complete and utter extremes. The top end of this team is absolutely insane. I mean, Zygarde 50% and Urshifu Single Strike are absolute monsters. Probably some of the strongest individual mons in draft, if you don't start thinking about the actual prep that teams can do for them. So the actual top end of this team is absolutely disgusting. The problem I have is that the middle and the bottom of this team, honestly, is overall quite underwhelming. 2 tier 5s for a baby Hail Core that doesn't really offer anything to the rest of the team for the most part, and is too weak to do anything of itself. I don't think is particularly good. I think Smargle is a trap pick in any draft league. It can't do nearly enough these days for it to even be remotely worth a slot. And the fact that it's actually your cleric is scary. And then for type coverage, Silvally is a fun, relatively alright pick. It's a good like middle of the road, middle of the team pick. But Silvally can't by itself hold together a team that is as unbalanced type-wise as this team is. Triple ice, when none of those ice are the complete 100% X factor that you get from something like a Ninetales Alola or Weavile or something like that. When your best ice type is Frostmoth, with which Terra is relatively good, and you have 3 ice types, there's a big problem in the team, and people are going to take advantage of that. Overall, for support moves, I mean, this team has it all. The problem is that most of the support moves from this team for hazards come from Smargle, and that's not something you can really rely on. Now, as far as like hazards go, I prioritize rocks and spikes. Toxic spikes and sticky webs are like it's kind of nice to have them. Hazard removal, this team is fine. It's got like 4 good hazard removal options, so that's never really going to be a problem. It's good for the balanced team. It's good for making sure that you can get things like Urshifu and Zygarde in quickly. The thing that really caught my eye, though, for this team is those speed tiers. And if you look at the speed tiers for the entire team, you're going to see the problem that I'm talking about. This team is slow. There isn't a single mon on this team that is over base 100. And overall, that is going to cause incredible problems when it comes to prep. Because all of your opponent's sweepers and fast mons, the things that are going to be setting up, they're going to start running a ton of bulk. And your team can't afford that because you're relying on your like one-hit wonders to break through the team. And anytime, like the fact that a 110 mon can run Adamant or Modest against you without any fear at all, that should terrify you. You're like, you need your opponent to start investing into speed, because otherwise you're not going to be able to break them apart, or your calcs are going to be off. And that was really the thing that caught my eye the most. Honestly, if this team can drop a couple ice types, and find a way to get like a ghost or a fairy into the team without relying on Silvally and increase your speed, this team is in a really good spot overall. It's just that the draft really trailed off at the end as they were starting to go down to lower tiers. And they probably weren't really planning ahead for the whole team as a whole. When you look at like an ice core that was drafted near the end, it just doesn't mesh with the rest of the team. I think they're going to struggle when it comes to things like that, and probably lag behind other teams that have a more balanced composition. But the top end of this team, as I said before, is probably one of the strongest top ends. I mean, just look at the 2 mons there. The problem is the rest of the team won't support it as well as most people would like. So if that gets fixed with free agent trades, this team is going to really go places. It's just, I think, not quite put together correctly yet. Now, moving on at number 15, we have the Kentucky Cricketoons, which have probably one of my favorite bonds that I've been using recently, and one that I would love to use in draft, which is the Ogerpon Wellspring. I do really love it. But the problem that I have with this team, and why I have it rated absolutely as low as I do right now, is that glaring red problem I see in the corner. They only have one hazard control mon, as far as I can tell, in the entire team, which is Defog Volcanion. Defog Volcanion should be like your third option for defog or rapid spin, not your first. The fact that the second option is relying on Magic Bounce Espeon should have been triggering incredible warning sirens when they were drafting, but there must not have been anything that could have been done to fix it in time. If there is something here that gets Rapid Spin and I missed it, like Titan or something, I mean, then it does actually change my opinion of this team a lot. But the fact that this team could easily just drop like webs or a couple spikes, and if they can abuse Volcanian's typing or something, I mean, the team is going to fall apart completely. Other than that, though, the team is overall put together quite well. I harped on the Union Point Urshifu's for it, but like when you look at the Kentucky Crickettoons, their speed tiers are nearly perfect. They've got great small gaps all the way in the higher speed tiers from like the 80 to 100 plus range, which is something that you do really need. And honestly, I mean, kind of shows what I was talking about when I was talking about the last team. There's a Ogerpon here that can always run Adamant against the other team. Or, you know, the Enamoris can throw Timid in and run a lot of HP. Stuff like that is going to be a huge problem for opposing teams. Or I guess just really a problem for the Urshifus because they're the ones with the speeds here. I would like to see a Ghost on this team, honestly. I think that is probably something that they should look into. I'm not sure where exactly they'd want to grab it from, though, because depending on what's available, a lot of the mons here are very good options within their like draft category, their tier. But if this coach can potentially find any sort of ghost type and maybe some more hazard control with their trades to kind of round out the weaknesses of this team, overall it's in a really good spot. The type overlaps honestly aren't particularly important. Having a couple electrics is whatever. A couple waters is great. Grass, ice, and electric, I mean, they're the secondary typings on their team, so you know, it is what it is. If you want to have any kind of ice, or I guess snow is what it is now, snow core, you have to run probably at least 2 ice types, but you should probably never run any more than that. Also, I think you may notice a trend, but I generally don't rate snow highly. I think the only snow setter that's worth drafting is Ninetales, and the others are kind of setting yourself up for failure. It won't be surprising to see any snow team, for the most part, lower in the power rankings to start. I generally would consider against it. But the rest of the team, I mean, is quite strong. One of the biggest downsides I think this team has is that it leans incredibly physically oriented. All of your top tier mons, you got Ogerpon, Garchomp, Zeraora, they're all physical. Volcanion and Amoris, they're special generally. And Amoris, of course, can run contrary with like superpower and stuff too. Boma Snow can be either. It's pretty good regardless, offensively at least. But a lot of the instant hitting from this team comes physically. And Enamoris specifically is going to have to pick up a huge load to carry on the special side, because Volcanion, unfortunately, is going to always will have to have one slot dedicated to defog. And if it's spending turns defogging, it's not spending turns doing other things like, attacking. But if they can find their ghost, if they can find more hazard control, maybe if that's a special attacking the side as well somehow, this team will be quite strong. At number 14, we have the South Jersey Septiles. And now if you're just kind of scanning mon by mon without taking the whole team into context, this team is absolutely stacked. Like, undeniably incredibly stacked. Charizard Y is an actual nuclear button. Ogerpon any of the Ogre but especially Ogre H, even if it can't Terra, absolutely disgusting. Huge threat. Blacephalon, one of the easiest accidental, oops, I swept your whole team mons in the game. Latios, incredibly offense, incredible bulk, incredible options for support. It can do just about everything. Scissor, incredible priority. It can set up, it can be banded. Great. Like, just going down every single thing, it all looks incredible. Here's the problem. There are 4 fire types on this team. Sure, it's a sun team, but this is such an incredible overcommitment to the bit that this team will almost certainly suffer when it matters against better coaches. And the fact that almost all the fire types are literally your top threats, these are the things that are going to come every week. This makes prep so much easier for your opponent, because if they've prepped for one, they've half prepped for them all. They share so many of the same weaknesses. They are almost all roughly the exact same speed. They're all between 100 and 110. It's going to be so hard for them to differentiate themselves, especially because 2 can't even be scarfed. 1 is forced to run a mask, 1 is forced to run a Megastone. So does that mean you bring Scarf Blacephalon every week to get out of that speed tier range? Well, that's easy to prep for too. The good news is every single thing here is basically a very strong pick in a vacuum. And if you're able to pick and choose which fire types you bring and support it with the other stuff like Sandy Shocks, Slitherwing, Scissor, in that case, you can probably start squeaking things out. But it's just going to be a lot easier to prep for this team than it would be to prep for most other teams, simply because so much overlap is occurring here. Also, this team has zero rock resists. I literally just noticed. It's got... Oh no, it does. It has 1. It is Sandy Shocks. Yeah, Sandy Shocks. But if it ever Terras, then it's not. That's scary. That's scary. Not specifically because Stealth Rocks, but like any fast rock sweeper, Ogerpon Cornerstone, Aerodactyl Mega, those are just 2 that I can think of off the top of my head that I know were drafted. They're going to cause havoc to this team too. So I think this team is going to unfortunately fall down a little for me. Oh, I mean, it's basically only because the team is so concentrated into one thing. If it was a little more balanced around, then I think it would be good. Heck, there's not even a water type on this team. That is insane. I don't care if it's a sun team. Draft a water type, for fuck's sake. Like, literally, either the best or the second best type in the game, depending on who you talk to. Get one. Just one. You're not going to bring Charizard every week. Trust me. Trust me. You're not doing it. But yeah, I think I literally won 2 trades. This team, absolutely golden. Not even a question in my mind. At number 13, we have the Boston Red Sox. And this is one of the teams I know has made trades before I actually recorded the video. I'm not taking into account any of the trades. This is simply post-draft. So if those trades made this team better, well, good for it. But I'm going to talk about what happened, well, as if this was literally 15 seconds after the draft. This team has some of the greatest scary mons you can come up with. Garchomp is one of the weirder megas, especially nowadays with Scale Shot, in that you have to prep for it at 92 speed and with its insane attack as mega, and you have to prep for it at 102 because it doesn't have to mega if it doesn't want to during the match. And those 2 different speeds, especially with the difference in strength, it's like it's 2 entire mons in one. At least, you know, even if they share typings and move pool and stuff. Annihilate as well, especially with dedicated wish support, which this team can have. I mean, it's just, it should scare the pants off of anybody, because you bring this thing in on a U-turn, that's Rage Fist. If your opponent is just throwing out weak defensive attacks at things, bring this in. That's Rage Fist. This thing is going to easily get accidental chip over and over again and will be killing entire teams with Rage Fist when it's supported. You want to burn it? Too bad. Sylveon's there. You heard it a little bit? Well, I sure hope that you can get around Wish Baton past Sylveon. Like, or teleport Claydol. Or actually, Claydol might have Healing Wish. Like, there are so many ways to get Annihilate in for free and healthy that it is going to cause problems. And it's supported by a good cast as well. It's supported by Apollyon, Raikou, Rabombi for webs if you want to go for more speed-oriented things. It's got great, there's great glue in this team. The problem I have with this team is, once again, overlap. Why are there 3 fighting types on this team? Why does this team have 2 flying resists in that case? And 2 psychic resists, 1 psychic immunity. There's going to be a lot of problems that are caused by this kind of overlap that these teams at the bottom seem to all have in common. It's easy to prep for. If you've prepped for Lilligant, you've probably prepped for Chestnut, more or less. Now, this kind of argument does, of course, fall a little bit when you start talking about speeds. For example, Lilligant is, of course, much faster than Chestnut. But just in general, it's a problem. You can't really bring them both. And if you do, you better be super sure about it, because one mistake in prep and you are absolutely boned. But I mean, as far as the bottom quote-unquote teams of what I've been looking at so far, because this is the bottom 4 so far, I think this is the team that's easiest to go from down to top, because if you can just fix that little bit of overlap, literally 1 trade could probably do it. And if it's for something good, you're golden. It's got everything else it needs. It's got good speeds. It's got all the support move pools you could hope for. The Glumons are there that you look for in a draft. So this team is very close to being good. And that actually does say a lot for how impressed I am overall with the drafting from this league so far this season. Is you look at this team, and this team would be incredible with 1 trade. And it's ranked 13th. Like, it was really tight on trying to get teams in different spots, because there are a lot of really good drafts. So when something like this is 13, I mean, that's crazy to me. At number 12, we have the Brussels Bell Sprouts. Brussels Bell Sprouts. God damn, that was harder to say than I would have expected. This is another Sun team. I swear I don't just put all of the weather teams on the bottom except rain. It's just, happened a couple times. This team is an interesting team because some of it is really good and some of it is completely less than impressive. I mean, Sun with Walking Wake, terrifying. That's just, there's no question about it. You get Walking Wake in with like 3 or 4 turns of Sun left, forget about it. It's going to be a nightmare for the opponent. The one thing I wish I saw in this team were better Sun abusers other than Walking Wake, though. I think Delphox is overall incredibly underwhelming. And Victory Bell, I mean, for a tier 6, Victory Bell is probably going to be literally the best possible scenario. But I wish they could have maybe found something better. Although, honestly, I think the chlorophyll growth trend, I don't think it is good anymore. It hasn't been good in almost 10 years, honestly. But it probably isn't something you should be looking for. But like, imagine if that wasn't like a Delphox and instead was like Chandelure or Chi-Yu, which I think was drafted, so ignore that, or Victini or Darmanitan. There are things that are literally impossible to deal with in Sun and probably could have been drafted somewhere around here. Overall, though, the team looks strong. I'd like to see webs, but don't, it's overall not particularly important. I'd have to look into tiers, but they probably picked the single two best tier 6s they could have gotten. Hunter is, it's good enough. And Victory Bell in the Sun, I don't think you're going to get better value from a tier 6, so that's actually pretty good. Terra Hatterini is also a very good mod. A lot of things may have trouble abusing their own Terra type, like their stab Terra type, but Hatterini is not one of those. Terra Fairy Hatterini is quite strong, and Terra Water is also very good. So it's good to see those. Honestly, I don't have a lot else to say about this team, unfortunately. It's a strong team. It's set to abuse the sun via the typings of the water weak mons and via Walking Wake. I'd like to see a fire option other than Delphox for offensive sun abuse, but I just spent a little while kind of going over why I don't like to see a lot of commitment to a single thing. So like I wouldn't advise getting dropping Great Tusk for Victini or anything, obviously. But if there's a more offensive focused fire type available in replacing Delphox with or something, I would say go for it. Of course, maybe Delphox was the best and that's just what we're stuck with. I haven't looked at the tiers. I wasn't going to go that in depth. But overall, team actually does look quite strong. It's just that the bottom half, or bottom third of the team is incredibly weak on its own, and you have to have very specific matchups to bring them, which is often the case with the low tiers anyway. So if that's my complaint, damn, good job. At number 11, we have the Brisbane Flutter Mains, which literally, until I was typing that out a little bit ago, I did not even realize it was a rhyme. On purpose, couldn't tell ya, but how about that? This team, overall, it's got some of the stronger, the things you think of as, oh, that's a threat. Mawile Omega, I mean, it's been OHKOing things for years now. Dragapult is the all-star from Generation 8. Slowking Galar literally is a one-man glue. Togekiss is a good cleric. Quaquaval is, like I was talking about with Blacephalon earlier, Quaquaval is literally just the, oops, I clicked Aqua Step and now it looks like I win. Oh no. So there's a lot of really good things here. Type coverage for the team overall, actually really good too. I will never, if you're missing an ice type and a normal type, I'm never going to say a word about that. Those are two of the most unnecessary types to have. As far as overlaps go, there's no more than 2 of any type, which is incredible. And I mean, the ones you've overlapped here, Steel, Fairy, Flying, Ghost, Dark, ignoring Fire for now. Yeah, those are all types that are perfectly fine to have multiples of. Now, I haven't looked at a schedule or anything to see if it has a real specific purpose, but Magnezone and, of course, Magneton as well, if someone drafts it, are mons that, in my opinion, should never be drafted unless you have specific matchups in mind because of their magnet pull. I don't think they're worth drafting for, for example, the analytics set or anything. And I don't know if this team suffers enough with what Magnezone gets rid of to be worth spending a tier 2 pick on. But it's possible the person who drafted this looked at their schedule and was like, nah, I want it. Now, of course, this being said, it's his only electric type as well. If there isn't a good electric available, then this is great. I think every team needs an electric. I think that's one of the non-negotiables of team building is at least one electric type. So having it, very good. Do I think this is a good Magnezone specific team? No. But for example, if like Raikou was drafted already and whenever other tier 2 electrics exist were drafted or something, whatever, it's fine. Maybe it'll get a nice trap at one point, or maybe it's just going to run like sub specs. Well, okay, I wouldn't run sub specs, but you know what I mean? Like, maybe it'll just whip out a good subset someday, or a specs and just blow chunks with analytic or whatever. But overall, this team is actually insanely strong. Now, why is it number 11 on your list, you say? 2 reasons. 1, spikes. Unless I missed them again, there are no spikes on this team. And I think spikes are even more important than stealth rocks these days, because everybody and their mother runs heavy duty boots on the things that are weak to rocks. What does that leave? Spikes. They're easy to set up. You can set them up multiple times so you never have dead turns with whoever's got them. And they do good damage to the things that aren't running the boots because they're not weak to rocks. I just think it's probably the best hazard. I would always recommend having at least one setter of spikes just to threaten a little bit of it. And then the other reason I have this team down a little bit is that giant gap in the speed tiers from 126 to 95. This isn't as bad as some previous teams, but that is a 31-point gap where you have an incredible amount of mons that will be like, well, I can't be faster than 126, but I sure can be faster than 95 with minimal effort. And then all of a sudden they're packing plus damage, natures, and HP. And this is a team, as you can tell, that is heavily reliant on cleaning. And I say that as we've got 2 Moxie users. We have Dragapult, who is not particularly the highest damage output. He's not the one usually breaking holes. He's the one cleaning up holes. Yeah. But of course, then you've got, and like Mawile with, if you want to run like Sucker Punch, if things are all of a sudden having more HP on Mawile's going to have trouble breaking, which is Mawile's whole point. So once again, if this team can somehow find a way to maybe get spikes somewhere and to pick up like even just one mon in like that 105 to 110 range, if they can find something in that range, it's going to be a lot better for them in the long run. At number 10, we have the San Antonio Espers, who are I believe, one rain team that was drafted this season. I don't believe Politoed was drafted at all. That being said, this is incredibly typical rain fare. You've got Pelipper, you've got Mega Swampert, you've got Ferrothorn, you've got Tornadus, you've got a good electric type in Regieleki. You've got your kind of underwhelming, but still people drafted anyway, rain abuser like Ludicolo. And then a collection of other things. It's pretty typical rain fare for the most part. This is, I feel like I've seen this team drafted 1,000 times. But that doesn't particularly matter. It may not be necessarily the most original at the top, but those things are still going to get the job done. Rain plus Swampert plus Tornadus is won many championships for many people. Regieleki may not be able to Terra here, but it's still very strong electric abuser. Has weird coverage because I think it has it has Terra Blast now, so it's actually got a spammable normal move. Although the fact that you're saying, you're hearing that its coverage is normal is, well, yeah. Goodra is good in rain. It's always been decent in rain. The problem I have with this team is overcommitment. Overcommitment, guys. Why are there 3 grass types on this team? Grass isn't just weak to fire, right? They're all weak to flying. Okay, they're not like weak to flying. Ferrothorn is neutral, but Why is there a Virizion here? What point does Virizion serve? It's a fighting type. That's cool, I guess. It is physical. Well, kind of. And this team is desperate for physical offense. But there's got to be something that's better, right? You have so many holes in other spots. You don't have a poison type for poison toxic spikes. You don't have a ghost. Why do people not draft ghosts? You don't have a dark type. There had to have been something better than Virizion. At the very least, maybe Virizion or Ludicolo. Honestly, in my opinion, neither should be drafted, and there should be other things there as well. You don't need 3 grass types. 3 water types on Rain, pushing it, especially when one is as low quality as Ludicolo is. But I'm not going to question 3 waters. I'll question 3 grass every single day of the week. I do like that this team still drafted a fire type, and it's a decent fire defensive low tier mon with Crocolore. With Terra Fairy, it's actually quite a terrifying option. It's got Slack Off even at its middle evolution stage. It's got Yawn and other stuff, so it's actually a decent pick. But please, for the love of God, get rid of either Virizion or Ludicolo, and honestly, in my opinion, both. I don't think they're doing your team any favors. And if you can find anything that is more offensive to replace them, please do so. Like, this is off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure Virizion has base 90 offense. That is horrifically bad. And I think Ludicolo is not much better, if at all better. It's just fast because Rain. Although that being said, it's the same speed as Swampert. They're both base 70, so like, if someone's prepped for one, they've prepped for them both. Yeah, please, do yourself a favor, get something better there, and this team will do incredible things. At number 9, we have the Philadelphia Psychic. And yes, for those who are watching at home and are paying attention, unless someone drafted regular Ninetales and I have forgotten, this puts every single weather team in the bottom half. And you know why? Almost entirely is overcommitment. Why are there 4 ice types on this team? Ninetales, Alola, Baxcalibur, and please, for the love of God, don't draft any more ice types. I don't care that they get +1 defense. For the love of all that is holy, don't draft any more than that. I know it seems like I'm going awfully hard, but this is literally like the 6th weather team, and 4 of them have overcommitted. I'm sorry you're the last one. Technically, that means you're the best, but you're going to hear the worst of it because you overcommitted the most. It's just that your top end is so much better. Holy Christ, please get rid of at least Glaceon. Please at least get rid of Glaceon. Everything else on this team is, well, okay, not everything else is good because like Absol, but when you know, get 3 tier 1s, you're forced to get tier 6s. So Butterfree Absol, like once you get to tier 6, it's whatever. There was got to be some better than Absol, but at least it was a new type. It's dark. That's good. Once again, someone didn't draft a poison, didn't draft a ghost. There's no steel on this team. You're telling me there's not a steel that you could have gotten instead of Arctozolt or Glaceon? Or a ghost? Or a good poison? There's gotta be something. Please. Everything else about this team is so good. What is Glaceon? Tier 4, right? If it's tier 4... Oh my god, if it's tier 4, just get like... Oh, get one of the friggin' pufferfish. What the heck is that thing called? Not Overquill. Quillfish. Draft a Quillfish. You get toxic spikes. You get spikes. You get a grounded poison type. You get a dark type that's not Absol, or you get another water type, which I can't really say I would recommend too much, but like better than Glaceon. You can't. When are you going to bring Glaceon? It's your 4th best ice type. Is there really going to be a match that you can look ahead and you say, I don't want Ninetales, I don't want Baxcalibur, I don't want Arctozolt, since I'm not bringing Ninetales, but I want Glaceon? can't be the case. There's got to be that. Unfortunately, it's also your strongest special attacker, although Deontay's better, of course, but Deontay can't hold damage items or anything. There's got to be something else. Somewhere. I mean, you don't have a fire type, you don't have a grass type, you don't have a goat. There's just a lot of missing types, and this team is going to really fall apart because you're forced to not bring all 4 of these months together. You should never even bring 3 of them. Maybe you can sneak away 3 depending on the matchup, but please, if there's one message I give to anyone who drafts, do not overcommit to any one idea. Drafting starts at balance and then expands outwards, but it should never expand into 4 of the same type on a team, ever. That's a lesson in madness. And now we move into the top half of my rankings. At number 8, we have the Raleigh Regirocks. And honestly, if you ever had told me that I was going to put a Camerupt Mega Team in the top 8, I would have probably laughed at you. And honestly, this is the single most confusing team in all of them. This could be the best team, but it's probably not. But this could also be the worst team. I'm still not sure where I want this team, and I put them in the middle. Why? Because there's no obvious weakness. All of the teams below it have had very obvious weaknesses to me, whether it's in types, whether it's in speeds, whether it's in their move pools. This doesn't have that. The biggest problem I have with this team is no electric type. Otherwise, it's a team of very weird mons, kind of put together in a way that has me super intrigued. I wish I could talk about this team more because it's just so interesting, but I don't know what to talk about because it's just so strange. Everything kind of fits at the same time. I think depending on the strength of the coach, this could be easily the best team in the draft. But if the coach isn't up to par, this might be the worst team in the draft. I don't know. I'm curious to see where they end up at, after week 8 and as we head into playoffs. I don't think I could draft this team because I'm not sure how I would play it. I don't know. I feel bad because I want to give actual commentary or advice or something. But all I can say to you is I guess try and find an electric type if you find that a team member is lacking. Christ, that's all I can say. I guess I don't like that your cleric is Audino, but whatever, you've got Slowbro and grassy terrain, and you're fine. I don't know. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of commentary about this team because it's just so strange to me. I'm going to watch every single one of their battles with great anticipation, though, because I really want to see how they make this team work. Unfortunately, with that, I got to move on because I don't really have any good other commentary to give. Which puts us at number 7, which is the Los Angeles Lucarios. This is a really interesting team to me because it's got a fun fast mode and it's got interesting slow options and it's got a little bit of fun in everything. Also, this team is incredibly balanced type-wise, as you can see. I'm rarely going to ding anyone for any specific doubling up of types or anything, and I'm never going to say you have to have all the types or something. But there is something kind of nice seeing a whole team where there isn't a single overlap. Missing a poison type does suck. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I think having a toxic spike absorber at all times, available at least, is very, very important. But the team overall, with both a smart and a very interesting Terra Captain choice, looks like a fun team. It's got a good cleric there. The speed tiers look very good, and it's very interesting because they can go fast with Jolteon, Ogerpon, and Fernape. They can go fast. Shell Smash, Poltegeist. Or you can go slow. You've got Stakataka. You've got Blood Moon Ursaluna. You have options to really slow down the match and throw your opponent off that way with 2 of the single most offensive Trick Room users you've got. And I believe Rapska also has Trick Room. I don't know if it has like U-turn or baton pass maybe to get out of there. I'm not sure about that, but regardless, this is a very interesting team. I don't necessarily know if I like Altaria as a mega choice, but to fit everything and get that tier of a mega, that might have been the only choice. I don't know for sure. But that being said, Altaria Mega absolutely has sets that just dominate. I mean, it's got refresh and other things, so it can do some crazy stuff. This team, I think, is going to be a lot of fun to play because the way you prep it, you can completely overwhelm your opponent by getting the prep right. Like, you can get the prep right in a match and still have a hard time. But if you guess right and you say they're going fast and you prep Trick Room, or if they're going to try and prep bulkier and you end up going fast and getting like some good chip in and then crunching them down with Ogre Pawn or something, you can really overwhelm them one way or the other. And it's hard to prep for both. So this team could be an absolute demon to go against. At number 6, I have the Monkey D. Grookis, who are a very they have some of like the most offensive mons, and then they have a lot of different bulky options, which I think is a very interesting choice. Also, I'm very, very intrigued to see how Sharpness Gallade plus Webs could go. I mean, this team is one that is designed to take advantage of Webs. You've got Sharpness Gallade, you've got Nido King, and you've got Chi Yu. Those are 3 absolute web just abusers. Aegis Slash, a little more awkward in that case because you want it to go after, you know, depending on the situation, you don't always want it to be attacking first, obviously. And Lopunny's fast enough that often it doesn't necessarily need webs, although there are a lot faster mons now than there used to be. So, you know, still important. I guess technically this is actually a weather team. There is a Gigalith. I think Gigalith is a little awkward. You're not going to be running sand unless you're going against another weather team, of course, which, I mean, running weather to mess with the other team's weather, tried and true tactic. You know, swapping in a weather on like a Ninetales as it tries to Aurora Veil, or watching a Pelipper U-turn out into a Swampert that all of a sudden can no longer abuse rain. Like, those are good options. So, and Gigalith is a good low-tier mon that has that kind of like disruption style that it can run. So that's a very good mon to have. Also, you've got Glare and Thunderwave available. Lots of speed control on this team. Heck, I think, what is Eldegoss has an ability too, right? Where it like lowers speed on contact. So this team has a lot of fun ways to get your slower offensive mons out and swinging hard, which I think is really cool to see. This is actually very interesting. You know, so I've said all this and I haven't even mentioned the Clefable. Clefable is one of those do-it-all mons. You can run it defensive unaware, you can run Calm Mind, Magic Guard, you can mix the 2 sets and run unaware Calm Mind if you're feeling particularly spicy. Although, honestly, I don't know if I would do that in a Nat Dex draft. I would maybe do that in a Paldea Dex draft, because Toxic is just nowhere to be found in that. But here, that doesn't work quite as well. But it's still very strong. It's got the cheesy tech of the unaware heavy-duty boots. It's just got a lot of good options. This team is very well put together. The speed tiers are good. I wish that there was something between 100 and 135, but 100 at least means that the 110s have to be careful. So that at least they have going for them. But I would like to see maybe something 110, 115, if possible, in the future. Would be nice, but there is, of course, like I said before, this team has a lot of speed control, and you'd have to actually go out of your way not to bring them on that can run speed control. So I think it's fine. At number 5, I have the Hearthome Hoopas. Honestly, I don't know if it's Hearthome or Hearthome. I don't think it particularly matters, but I've got these guys at number 5. And that's because until you get to like tier 4, there isn't a single option that I would go over. You know, the only thing on this team that you can't sell me on is, well, there's what, Farigarath or whatever it's called. I don't know what it does. Honestly, maybe it's got some secret strategy that I don't know of, but I think it's garbage. If it's tier 5 or tier 4, I don't know. I'm sure there's something it can do, but honestly, you've already got a normal and you've already got a psychic. What is it doing there that isn't offered by the other types? Unless it's got some sort of psychic terrain abuse thing that it can do. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. And Flygon. I know many of you don't know, but Flygon is probably one of my least favorite mons in the entire game. I know a lot of people were saying, oh my god, it's tier 4. Why is it only in tier 4? Because it's garbage. It is a garbage mon. And notice how it's not Terra'd. It's not even good enough to be a Terra captain. Everything, the other two, much, much better Terra captain options. I don't know what it's doing there. Drop it. It's tier 4. Get like a Vikavolt. You don't have an electric type. You don't have a bug type. You don't have webs. Why is that not a Vikavolt? Look at your team with webs. Easy. Absolutely destructive. Now you've got an electric type. Now you've got a bug. You're not overlapping on ground or dragon. Although, okay, overlapping on ground, not really a problem. You want as many electric immunities. You want multiple so that you know you don't get effed by it. But I don't see what it's doing there. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's like literally, like maybe Farigarath has some thing going for it that I don't know about because I don't know much about them on. But Flygon, please turn it into a Vikavolt for me, just for me. I'll sneak you into the playoffs if somehow this team and your abilities don't get you there. I'll put you in as a random like freebie because you at least got rid of Flygon and put it in a better mod. Overall, though, this team is absolutely stacked. I mean, Chien-Pao is borderline too strong. Tapu Lele, borderline too strong. Sneasler literally cheeses the game with Dire Claw. And even if it's not cheesing the game with Dire Claw, it's sweeping with Swords Dance Unburden. Samurott Hisui has been terrorizing for ages now with Ceaseless Edge. Gastrodon Moltres is a very fun little core that I've never run myself. And it's got support from a Terra Fairy Appleton. Very interesting options. Zoroark Hisui. I'm not a big Zoroark person, but I think it's certainly quite interesting. Illusion is always terrifying. Mega Aggron is a fun mon. You can absolutely cheese victories with it or just use it as a incredibly strong wall. This team has a lot of really good things going for it. It's so close to being probably my favorite team in the draft. Just get rid of Flygon. Please get rid of Flygon. At number 4, I have the Mokoho'o, which is probably my favorite team to talk about regarding name. It's my least favorite team to talk about when we talk about drafting redundant grass types. I don't know why it has Tangrowth, why it has Amoonguss. Please pick one, get rid of the other, and this team will be so much stronger, and it's already number 4 to me. I think this team has a lot of exceptional things, and I think Amoonguss should turn into a cleric, and then this team is incredible. It's got prankster support. The speed tiers are awkward, yes, but the base 95 is often going to be scarfed, and if it's like it, the base 95 is weird because it's your Darm, and Darm is gonna be scarf or banned. I can't imagine it's ever going to be something else. If there is something else, oh, okay, it could be. I didn't think to write that down, but it could be. What do you call it? What is the form? Zen? It could be Zen. And I actually did not think to look up the stats for Zenmo Darmanitan. I did forget to do that. What is the speed of Zenmo Darmanitan? Is because it's fast, right? But what is it exactly? Galar Zen. It's fast. It's 135. Well, that's actually kind of unfortunate. You saw nothing. But no, this team is a lot of fun to me. It looks like it's potentially not as good as like some of the lower ranked teams, and I think this is probably going to be one of the more contentious ones when people are looking at it overall, because I think a lot of people are going to say this team is weaker than I'm giving it credit for, but I see an incredible amount of good things here once you get past the fact that the bottom half of the team is all speed 35 or lower. And that's just the sheer, I think the sheer power of the top picks of this team are leagues better than how bad, quote unquote, the bottom is. Darmanitan, people are gonna get destroyed by this Darmanitan because it could be banded, it could be scarfed, or it could be Zen mode, which is even honestly almost more terrifying. You know, because Zen mode, you've got what, belly drum sets, I believe. You've got substitute sets. You could run both with like Salic Berry. There are so many options. Honestly, this is probably, of every mon in this draft, this is the one that I think is most contentious to be even allowed. And this team will ride or die on its back, I think. Tapu Fini plus Melmetal is actually a really strong combo as well, because you can't just burn it or paralyze it. The one thing I don't like about this team is that I feel like there's lots of hazard spreading. You've got Thunderwave on several mons. You've got Spore Amoonguss. You've got Toxic Spikes, I believe, on Runerigus. But you've got Fini who kind of nixes that. But if you can navigate it properly, this team is horrifying. Dondozo is also an incredibly good cheese mon for a low tier mon. You have to be ready for it. You have to bring Encore or Taunt or phasing. And honestly, phasing itself isn't always viable, because if it's a last mon Dondozo and your only defense against it is Whirlwind, you're in a lot of trouble. Overall, I actually really like this team. And I think it's going to do incredibly well. If I were to say anything, this team would really like a little bit more speed. Something between that 95, 135, it would be great. And it wants a flying type. That is one of the worst things about this team. There is no ground immunity currently. And I think a lot of those problems could be gotten by dropping Amoonguss for something else. I don't think Amoonguss does a lot for this team. I think Fini, Tangrowth, and Runerigus, especially with Terra Poison, that's what you got. You got that, you're good. You're set, you're great. And then you just use those to navigate around and off. You know, you navigate Melmetal, you navigate Manectric is a super underrated mega. Grimmsnarl, everyone goes, oh gosh, it's gonna be screens or something, and then it whips out like a prankster bulk upset. This team is going to be a nightmare to prep for because there's so many options from its best mons. At number 3, I have the Queensland Conkelders. This team is drafted to go places. As far as type overlaps go, when I see 3 steals, I'd be a little worried, but the fact is Heatran's there, and the other main one isn't weak to ground, so whatever. I'm not going to complain. I think Terra Poison Umbreon is so good on its own that the Galar Wheezing is almost a detractor from it, because they're so awkward to run together, which is so weird because Umbreon plus either of the Wheezings is like a draft staple for balance scores. But once you've added that Terra Poison in, it feels like Umbreon took that whole role into itself, and that wheezing could almost be something else, like a clef key, and it would be like more useful to the team as a whole. That's basically the only downside to this team, because everything else is incredible. Manafi is incredible. Spectrier is going to either sweep entire teams by itself or do nothing. There's honestly no middle ground each week. It's going to do one of those two things. Breloom, I think, is a super underrated mon. Spore is great. Priority is great. It can run Technician with loaded dice now. It can still run at the old Poison Heal sets. Very good options there. Speed tiers are a little funky once you get under 100 because there's that giant gap from 100 to 77. And there are a lot of good offensive mons that hover in that like 90 to 95 range who all of a sudden are going to drop tons of speed because they can drop basically all their speed and they're going to be fat. And fat is bad for things like Spectrier. So that is an important thing for this team to kind of realize, I think. But the team itself is incredibly strong. Mega Scissor is probably the scariest mega, in my opinion, overall of all the megas. Simply because it can do so much. Plus, it is the only one that can do that Cursed Technician set, which is... I've seen so many people get 6-0'd by Cursed Technician Scissor that I honestly, I don't know how many because it's been a lot. This team would like spikes. Honestly, if Wheezing was a clef key, this team would probably be number one for me. Just because, I mean, that'd be 4 steals though, so maybe that's kind of going a little overboard. I don't know. I feel like this team is, it's like so close to being like good. It's like like the navigation got it's like 95% of the way, then like drove, took it to the wrong driveway or something. I don't really know. I don't have a good metaphor for this because the team started out. I mean, look at like the first like 7 picks. Okay, that's bad because I don't know the order these came in. Look at the top 7 mons, and it's like there's no way this is the best team in the draft. But then you look at the bottom 4 and you go, okay, maybe there's a little bit of a crash going on. It's so damn close. So damn close, and I'll be interested after week 1 or maybe within the first few weeks, seeing what they might do to update it a little bit. At number 2, we have the Alaska Ice Cube with the such an interesting team. That top row is horrifying. Mega Gallade is incredible. Roaring Moon is borderline broken. Oh, okay, it can't Terra, so we'll take back the hyperbole a touch, but it's incredibly strong. Iron Bundle, if you believe in yourself and you believe in it and it hits the hydro pumps, unstoppable. Iron Treads is one of my favorite spinners in the entire game right now. I don't know why, but it is so good. And it's got Volt Switch, like spin plus momentum plus just good offenses plus good bulk plus good typing. It's incredible. Rotom Heat has been an underrated and underrated mon by many people. I think it's the best Rotom form, specifically in draft, but just like, in draft, it's the best Rotom form. Serperior is a little weird because I don't think Terra fits it. It can't Terra Blast, so Terra Fire is kind of weird. I don't know what Terra I would have picked though. I'm not sure. Honestly, maybe like Poison or Steel or something. I'm not sure. Pheasantipede, I'm not sold on, but it could be good. It's too new. It's too new for me to have an opinion on it. Cofagrigus, I've used many times. Miltank is a great low tier cleric. People will underestimate this thing all season. Terra Oricorio is the funniest thing I've ever seen, and I cannot wait to see what this thing can do. It's going to be incredible to watch Oricorio with Terra, assuming he doesn't just ignore it and drop it. And Spidops, low tier Webbers are something that no one should ever overlook because webs are like, people have said since they came out, Stealth Rocks is the strongest move in the game, and that's still true. It's the most important move in the game, whatever. But Sticky Webs is close. It's just, especially look at this team and then think if webs are up, what's stopping any of this? What's revenging any of this? Nothing. Now, it's tier 5, and honestly, I would have probably drafted Ariados, I would have drafted Ariados over Spidops, honestly. But it's basically the same thing, so whatever. Unimportant. But this team, just as it was drafted, is one of the most complete drafts I think is in the entire game. I would have probably made either Pheasantipity or Miltank Terra Captain, or even Cofagrigus. Terra Poison, maybe. I think it could have been like, I think I wouldn't have made Superior Terra Captain. But other than that, this team is nearly perfect. It's missing a rock type, like who cares? And the speed tiers are sick nasty. This team is basically perfect. But in my opinion, it is not quite as perfect as the #1 overall team, who are the Pittsburgh Pastries, or Pastries, I guess, if you pronounce your words correctly. This team is insane. And once again, I cannot believe my mind. I am putting a Mega Audino team at #1. And why am I doing that, you say? Because it doesn't need to use Mega Audino ever. Look at this. It has Iron Valiant and Tapu Koko. These are, in my opinion, and I know that this is somewhat controversial, these are the 2 best ones in draft. I know a lot of people will say Dragapult, and I'm sure there's other things that will get said. Maybe Ogerpon, Hearthflame, but it's too early for people to really say anything about that. And honestly, I think that's wrong, if only because it can't hold an item or Terra. But I think they got the 2 best mons in draft on the same damn team. And yeah, they're both fairies. Who cares? That's insane. The fact that they have 3 fairies, I do think is overkill. I'm not sure there's a tiered Mega, though, that could be swapped out at this point. And honestly, keeping Audino to have a Cleric is it's fine. They do also kind of deal with the triple fairy by having a couple steals. They have a poison type. They have Terra Poison Jugulus as well. So they've got ways to mitigate this like fairy overload. But I mean, they've got Iron Valiant, Koko, Cornerstone, Ogerpon, which is honestly my favorite Ogerpon. I know it's not technically as strong as Hearthflame or Wellspring, but it has, in my opinion, the better ability for draft in Sturdy. It's got access to spikes like the others. Sturdy Spiker. A fast Sturdy Spiker is disgusting, especially on this team. This team screams hyper offense. Are you kidding me? Look at this, because you've also got Iron Moth. You've got Ditto. It's just, this is a scary team, and it doesn't even have to run hyper offense because you've got like Audino, Forretress, and like Tauros Aqua. That being said, that is the one downside of this team: fire weakness. You've got 2 resists, I believe, and that's it. That is the downside to this team. Do I think it's something this team could fix with a trade or 2? Probably. I'm not 100% sure what Bronzong is doing here, but Bronzong is easier to bring than Forretress a lot of the time, so but Forretress has that slow U-turn, but I think Bronzong might have like teleport or something. Like, this team is just, I don't even know how I would prep for this team because there's so many options. You've got 3 booster energy mons. Ditto means you can't sweep on your own unless you have like sub sweeper. Also, I have no idea why the Ditto is a Terra Captain if for any reason, but it's so funny to me that I don't even care. It's like Terra Oricorio. Honestly, when you Terra a mon like that, I just have to smile and give you extra points. This team is just incredible. It's easily the strongest team. It's not the team I would draft, because I would never get Iron Valiant and Coco. So I don't even know really where to begin to like imagine playing this team. It's got like 3 of my favorite draft mons. It's got it's crazy. This team is crazy. This guy's crazy for getting this team. It's easily my favorite team overall. And there's really nothing else to say about it. I think like a trade or two that could really tighten this team up. And like this one and then the Alaska Ice Cube that we just talked about, those are the 2 teams that if all coaches were equal, those are the 2 teams that I could see a chance of going undefeated based on their drafts. And this one I think is the better of the 2. And that's honestly, that's all I've got to say about that. And that is number 1 team. So we can just hop right into the standings here. If you want to take a look at the list as a whole, I'm curious to know what you guys think are the correct options. What are the wrong options? I'm sure some people will say that I ranked the Mokoho'o too high. I think people will say I ranked the Philadelphia Psychic way too low, as well as probably the South Jersey Septiles too low. I think those teams will probably have more supporters than I gave them credit for, I guess. I know some trades have happened, so I can get into those later. I'll probably be doing one of these videos maybe every couple weeks. Nothing will ever be as long as this, though, so don't worry. I'll just be going over, like, you know, what changed from week to week, what trades were made, maybe interesting things that happened during battles, stuff like that, as we go through and update the rankings every now and again. The one thing you'll have to look forward to other than that, of course, is the MVP tracker here. But, of course, you'll be able to see this on our document as well. It'll be on the homepage, I believe, so you should be able to see that every week regardless. At least for the 8 weeks, and then once the playoffs start, I'll have some more fun content for you. But this is all I have for you today. I'm curious to see what you guys think about my rankings. I'll see, maybe hopefully some other people maybe came up with their own. We can compare. But other than that, I mean, I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed with the drafts from this group. Like I said, I think it was when I was going over Boston's team. Like the fact that I was looking at that team and I was saying, this is a number 13 team, really? And I'm like, wow, then like the drafts here are incredible. And I don't think any team is unsalvageable with the amount of free agents that are allowed, which is very important. I don't think there's a single team here that is unsalvageable. I don't even think there's a single team here that requires all 3 trades to fix, depending on what free agents are available. I haven't looked, but I don't think there's a single team here that would need even all 3 free agents to be, you know, quote unquote fixed. So that's really impressive. The draft has been going well. Everyone, you're all been really attentive as far as scheduling goes so far in this first week. So I'm just very thankful to see you guys doing so well, being so enthusiastic. I'm thinking this is going to be a great season, and I'm really hoping you guys don't make me eat those words. But that's all I've got for you guys here today, and hopefully everything will keep going well. I'll release my next rankings in probably a couple weeks, and we'll see how the standings change. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. Anyone who actually watched this entire video is a complete champion, or listened to it, whichever is up to you. Or don't watch it all, I don't care. Maybe you just skipped here to see the rankings. I wouldn't blame you. I've done that before. That's all. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one.